Hi, I'm John Dutton, and this is Spilled Ink. And can you believe we are celebrating our 6th year anniversary? We are kicking off year 7. I can't believe it. I'm glad. I have 14 of my closest friends here to join me tonight to celebrate our anniversary. You know, I'm going to kick us off with, this is Joe DeCesare, and here is the original poem just for me. It's called Memoir, Mind, Mush, a memorial to John Dutton. All right. All the papers I've read and the things that they've said are turning my mind to mush in my head. I need some new words to fill up the space that I find in the back of my face. These words must be great. These words must be cool to erase all the words of the kids at my school. And that was Memoir, Mind, Mush by Joe DeCesare. So Joe, if you are out there, it was awesome. I appreciate it so much, and we miss you, and I hope you're doing a great job out there somewhere, and you made me smile. So thank you very, very much for that. All right, now we're gonna go right to Alice Mergler. Alice Mergler, come on in and take it away.
Thoughts on an approaching COVID test. I've squandered time this wretched past year, marking the calendar from March toward March. There has been no let up to dreams filled with tears. I stare out the window at my car, always parked. We live in a febrile society full of lots of lives and reliable certainties. My fears seem permanent each haunted day. And then all of a sudden, time has me at bay. For last Monday, at one ring of my phone, I found out another new task I had to do all alone. For a wonderful friend called me to say that she had been COVID tested that day. Here is the rest of my caring friend's riveting news, explaining that I would need to be tested too, because trying to escape the shut in blues, we had walked together the day before, steps winding through the wind filled woods, enjoying the brisk cold before a slight downpour. Alice, I'm coughing and I have a headache, but no other signs, yet the test was positive, and I hope you don't find any vestiges of this disease. But even if not, I'm asking you please to right now get an appointment for a test. I know you shun doctors and all of the rest of the excuses I know you will belligerently use. Please, this time, I hope you will choose to call right away and then shout out prayers. Call your children and a few who care, then call me back and let me know. Hopefully, the test will carefully show that you, my friend, have once again faced down the devil and scored a win. My test is in Bristol tomorrow afternoon. Time is now a necessity. I cannot let John down. I need to Zoom. Besides, on these fourth Fridays, I have found silence, solace in writing a current poem. Cheerful memories with you are precious, and I am not alone.
Alice, take a big, deep breath and relax about tomorrow, and it will be fine, okay? Don't try to
Okay.
too much. All right, we love you, Alice. It's not Spilled Ink without you. All right, where's Dan? Dan Leahy, you're next. Take it away.
Okay, thank you, John. Happy to be back with you. This is actually my first Zoom with the group.
Yes.
And it just happened when I saw that it was the 6th anniversary. I couldn't avoid coming. So, and luckily, I had something that we were talking about the Bernie memes earlier, and the one sitting outside of Girani jogged my memory. So I found this. It was written in August of this year. Sun streams through the coffee house windows and doors. Girani in the time of COVID is a very different place. The music still sends rhythmic beats through the air, and the coffee and cheesecake are still wonderful, but something is missing: the people. It's not totally deserted. The baristas still share their banter behind the counter as they prepare drinks, but their banter is muffled by masks and the drink orders are rare. The few customers are spread out at the widely distanced tables. A sense of wariness pervades the room as you quickly scan the new arrivals to see if they are properly masked and observing social distancing. A hallmark of Girani's, the ability to interact with a diverse group of people, has been severely impacted. The space feels colder than before as the ceiling fans slowly circulate the summer air. I yearn for the day that the warmth of a Thursday night open mic session can return to this special place, to once again witness young and old of all colors and genders come together to celebrate the talented and not so talented as they summon the courage to step into the light and share their hearts. I yearn for the return of Spilled Ink Writers' Night, the shared laughter and thoughtful silences, as stories pour from the minds and hearts of the most special of people, fellow writers. We scribble our memories and feelings onto paper and give them life by sharing them. We hope that our words will touch and in some way help those who are kind enough to listen to us. So now we write in solitude, but the day will come when this place once again shelters a community of friends and strangers, giving them a safe place to grow closer to one another and learn more of what makes us who we are. Thank you.
Absolutely wonderful, Dan. And I believe everyone here cannot wait for that day when we are back on a Friday night. And we might have to start early because I have a feeling there's going to be a big turnout. And we are just going to have, and we're going to have Girani say, hey, we got to stay late tonight because it's going to be a big turnout. I just have that feeling. All right. Let's go. Brian Donald James. Brian Donald James, take it away.
Good evening. I'm sorry I wasn't ready, but I got you. As I shared last time we met, my aunt had passed away, and I would just like to read the poem that I wrote her and that I delivered at the services. The name of the piece is called God's Poetry. Just adjust a little bit. All right, here we go. Brick by brick and person by person, she laid her foundation in Christ. Day by day and page by page, she wrote a tale of beauty that surely must be God's poetry. A tireless laborer with a sweet strength unyielding, a mother to many, to children both claimed and forsaken, she grants a welcoming smile and gave shelter and refuge from the abusive winds of the world, all so that you could lay your head to rest when in distress. She sets a place at the table for you where no one would ever hear, there is nothing I can do. She was comfortable in her loving, her craft, and applied her tools, both rough and smooth, to rebuild and sustain you, and this devotion was all she knew. The work was never done. So slip into a gentle darkness now, and behold the light of the Lord within, for the Creator resides in hearts, in heavenly atmospheres of peace, which she held in her essence, which she became, and was the living word in action. She was his living promise of love. See, the grandest scripture is not spoken in words, but lived. And her life, spent without harm to others, her life, where she granted constant and reliable kindness, her life was a book bound in gold and silver and written in love, and surely must be God's poetry. Thank you.
Absolutely wonderful, Brian. It was wonderful and such a beautiful tribute.
I have just one more piece.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, this is called A Tillage of Earth, and it was written a year ago during the George Floyd incident. A knee taken and blood spills with the tillage of earth for tobacco to rain or in cotton croplands bears no difference to a knee taken upon a football field by a man wearing God's number. Both feel the lash, both actions done to quench the passion and the thirst that the promise of equality surely doth yield. A kneel taken in prayer for a nation that protests too much change and too much progress. So we, a godly people, sing heart songs heard only in spirit and kneel to beg for empathy, where our pleas fall yet again upon ears closed. So a knee upon a neck ends a life in urban farmlands, the new fields of slaughter, and blood spills with the tillage of earth, yet our hope is never disposed. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian, very much.
Anniversary.
Yeah, thank you. Happy anniversary too. Yes, I'm glad you could be here. Lesley Tyson, another staple for us at Spilled Ink.
Oh, that's a compliment. Thank you. So this is talking, the prompt this particular day was purging fire. And this is kind of sort of what my life has been like this week. Life interrupts, and I keep starting over as a spark loses its breath and the fire goes out. Forgetting the purpose was to document repetitive reinvention. I let the pen take off on a journey as cat's toy to be lost under the dresser. The phone rings again, and my numb hand drops the call about expired car warranties. And my knees click as I kneel to retrieve the phone that keeps working as I do, after a fashion of denial, turning to the next distraction of a reminder of something that takes me away from what I'd rather do, except this spark drops onto a paper I planned to save until there was time to document the drama that got me to this point. I just waved my hand to clear the smoke of conflagrations overgrown by memories with no useful information to advise people how to say my name correctly, to not wash away the rain. And this is called Morning. Every morning, stirring, curled around a small light of the bed of a cold fire, taking a breath of old smoke and cold air, I stretch and breathe in darkness, knowing I can see light. The cat shakes off my last warmth, ignores the noise of me falling into place in some evolving shapes, walking in footsteps of predictable routine that never seems extraordinary, except it is. Looking back at conflagrations not meant to be survived, each morning adjust to new normal. I keep rising to greet. Thank you.
Thank you, Lesley. I was thinking that first one, I was like, yes, it's been a long week. I hope you have a large glass of wine, and tomorrow is Saturday, so I hope you have a good day Saturday. Oh, all right, let's go with Thomas Dr. Love Burson. Tom, you might have to unmute yourself.
Okay, I got three little ones. If they're not PG-13, it's because they don't understand anything I'm saying anyway. It's Sanguine and Sagacious. We were the wind, the white sails, feeling the hard thrum of the waves against the hull. Your hands, the tiller, the path from the dawn, I, the breath that spreads the sails, the outlook for shoals. Harbored, the last early light draining pink across horizon, sails reefed, our backs sharing a spine as we sipped beer, felt the hands of each other's breath. My pinions read the wind, I watch the shadows move in the sea. We feasted outside in the final crepuscular blush, feeding each other saucy tidbits, kissing the marinara away from the lips and chin, sucked the oysters from the shell, fingers slippery with desire, trace slips, light fires. I watched the moon's shadow walk with creamy hands across your tawny back and into your storied tresses. Surfacing from your oracular dreams, Cirrus, my Aphrodite, you led me in a dance on the tops of the white-crested waves. Heroes of Iliad, followers of Odysseus, we are the swans on black waters. Now,
Awesome.
poem 2, on a lighter note. This is called Sandbox Pirates. Memories tie themselves round tree trunks, doorknobs, weave particulars into a song, catch your heart with the right twist of shadow. We never forget when we have been touched. I live with ghosts, tales children create, memories, kite tails and blue skies, when friends and I were wild-eyed, pledged to the brotherhood, full of unconquerable dreams. Families move, dreams lost in packing crates, promises forged on playgrounds, forgotten like stones, markers for hopscotch. Except when I creep through the rock deep in my foundation, find relics holding hot afternoon catch, tackle football on the yard grass, all my futures buried in the past. Friends lost to a twist of time and parents' course and job demands, but I understand we made ourselves believe we could be anything our imagination perceived. Now, I am nothing like I could foresee, but so much more for the practice I got with friends riding waves in a sandbox sea. And then last but not least, how can anyone think of any of their work as less than any others? We have to have the courage that goes far past our egos. This is called Times of Day. 1, I heard you before your shadow laid its head upon my heart. A wind held its breath. The light broke the silence. I heard exhaled a breeze. The starlings clattered out of the trees, a rush of busybodies hot with gossip. 2, before we apes placed our feet upon the hard ground, stopped roaming branches, we must have dreamed flight would come. We could be leaved with feathers, a kaleidoscope of colors. We could swirl around each other above treetops, haunting lifetimes the moment we were birds. 3, when darkness was a taste, your eyes were a fire and my tongue was raw. The moon danced on the froth. You stood on the crest of the dune, the wind holding on to your clothes. You looked as if you could step off into the sky, stroll among the stars, savor the flavors, eternity tied in your hair. 4, when the house is empty, I sit in the garden, hear you in the wind, find you, blossoms erupt. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. And that is why, ladies and gentlemen, that is Thomas Dr. Love Burson. Yes. All right, we have, where's Morgan? Morgan Hazelwood, you are up. Take it away.
Hello. So I haven't been working on anything short, so I'm just gonna share with you the opening to my latest space fantasy story that is a work in progress, but a dream of stellar ships. Once upon a time, in the days long to come, there sat a little white house made of shells and mud on an alien shore. And in that house made of shells and mud on an alien shore lived a girl from the stars. The girl was called Vasilissa, and she'd been born on a family ship that sailed on the aether between solar systems and worlds. The girl had sailed betwixt and between worlds with her parents, her cousins, her aunts, her uncles, and her grandparents until one day when she was 8 years old, her grandmare passed away. And debts that had not yet been repaid were called upon to do so. In the struggle to meet those debts, her family pushed too hard and too fast, and the sails ripped. So it was that her parents were forced to make a bargain, a hard bargain. They would pilot and navigate for the miners for 7 years to earn the money to pay the debts and to replace the stellar ship's sail. But the problem with sailing the aether is that time travels slower there. A scant 7 years sailing the aether is a long 21 years to those left behind. To keep Vasilissa with her parents on the miner ship would have bound her to the miners for more years than that. Thus, the family ship found itself being towed to orbit, the nearest habitable settlement, and Vasilissa with her aunts and cousins and uncles were left stranded outside the aether on a singular planet. A planet is a hard thing for anyone from a stellar ship, especially a child used to the ways and confines of space. Enrica, for the girl from the stars, the sunshiny days with their salty sea breeze were as equally strange as stormy-filled nights with their thunder and lightning. The years passed slowly, and Vasilissa grew older as her parents mourned the years lost. But children are adaptable things, and Vasilissa exchanged carefully recorded messages with her parents every week, with them carefully tracking the time changes betwixt and between their days on the aether and their days in port. And life on a planet full of tidal pools and the friendly spacefaring Ricarians settled into a comfortable habit. But always, Vasilissa dreamed of the stars.
Oh, thank you very much, Morgan. I appreciate it. All right, Jim Boucher. Jim Boucher, you are unmuted. Good, and take it away.
Okay. Since it's the beginning of a new year, I'm going to start with a poem called Monthly Pageant. 1st of January, celebrate the New Year's Day. Make resolution. Poor February has only 28 days. Add one for leap year. March, right into spring. Sprouts and blossoms everywhere. Madness on the courts. April, garden time. Heralds the baseball season. Mid-month tax deadline. May, flowers abound. Mother's Day celebration. Swanky proms galore. June begins summer. Graduates prance around town. Stanley Cup finals. 4th day of July recalls our nation's birth date. Fireworks to the sky. August ends summer. Get ready for new school year. Harvest garden greens. Enter September. School now fully in session. Fall football frenzy. October Tree Fest. Red, green, orange, and yellow. Ends with Halloween. November is prime for Thanksgiving gatherings throughout families. December each year, we relish feasts, gifts, and cheer with guests far and near.
Jim, do you have another?
Yeah, I have another.
All right, would you do me a favor? That was a little light, so could you speak a little louder?
Oh, I'll
Or somehow move your microphone closer. Thank you.
okay, can you hear me now?
Oh, much better.
Okay. Recently, I learned that Native Americans regard the number 4 as sacred in a similar manner that Christians regard the number 3. Combining this concept with the reference in the Bible in Proverbs that wisdom is a feminine application of God's creative nature, I portrayed in the attached song lyric 4 earthly directions related to God: Father, Jesus, Holy Spirit, and wisdom. God for all from the north fills out. God for all from the east pans out. God for all from the south points out. God for all from the west brings out. Father renders as mentor. From his height, he spans the world to underlie its presence, the sustainer direction. Jesus projects new from old. For his realm, he claims the role to satisfy its sentence, the redeemer direction. Holy Spirit guides stories. By his heart, he acts the charm to deliver its valance, the succeeder direction. Wisdom attends be fruitful. With her arms, she plows the earth to emanate its essence, the provider direction. Father, Jesus, Spirit, and wisdom, God for all. Okay.
Did you have usually you do 3, so
Okay,
you
I'll
have
do
another?
it.
I know you were big on three poems, so
Yeah, I'm ready.
all right, take it away.
This is called Certain Journey. It won 3rd prize in a contest sponsored by the Poetry Society of Virginia in 2019. It's about a woman who is jilted. The news of your marriage reaches me with the winter's storm, buffeted by muffled gossip, swept by your cold underhand. I am suddenly dazed by its fresh edge, which cakes me in ice. I've got to quell this frigid rage. I've got to tame this numb savage. Today, I strike a fire to burn my useless wedding dress, pitched in sobs of bleak misery, choked in the smoke of torched dreams. I watch as my gown collapses into a pile of cinders. All that remains is a gray ghost, a faint spirit I can't erase. Beyond so many years, we were bound to cross paths someday. Startled at first by your presence, then recalling your falsehood. I use guarded words and drifting glances to hedge the misdeed. Your vacant look leaves me stranded. Then my clipped voice backs you away. A friend's wedding event, what a spot to bump into you. Coupled into mingled flashback, facing the breach once again. We don't fix the past, but we find the room to release its rule. It's sure to be a steady course, and I contain a farewell sigh. I've had time to rest at night. My heart sustains its gain. I've had time to wax and wane. My mind maintains its sphere. I've had time to grow each year. My soul attains its might. I've had time to settle my well-being.
Thank you, Jim. Very nice. Thank you very much. That was a nice poem. Thank you, Jim. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, Kimberly Ray. Kimberly Ray, take it away.
All right, thanks, John.
Yeah.
I'm going to read 3 poems and then a couple of short ones. I've got first one called Have You Noticed? Have you noticed how certain poems linger and the echoes of yesterday? How certain triggers replay a certain phrase? How hanging onto words engulfs an empty room? How walking through fields begets velvet moonlit nights listening to you. How spinning a record after dropping a needle births a mountain of longing and sorrow. Have you ever noticed that no matter how many times you block out the sights and sounds, they sprout their way back to your tomorrows? So that's Have You Noticed? The next one I have is called The Looking Glass. Let's see. The looking glass possesses fragments of a view. Surrounding figures and forms collapse as our fingertips meet. Yet steady is a scene encompassing pieces of you. Limbs undulate tenderly with the slightest breeze. Wildflowers spread their seeds, dropping impressions, attempting to gain greater visibility. Such bits linger out of view, boulders that were planted eons before. Torrential rains that flooded these plains have left ridges deep and wide. Yet this singular slice, the object of my heart's deep affection, is purely the only matter that requires my line of direction. And the last one is called Home. Is this my home, spinning round and round, going from high to low and back round again? Is this that place where heart feels heard and shoulders ease? For far too long the tongue's been tied and the shoulders tense, from being left in the dark because my stories don't matter. The voice has been shushed and pushed into a corner steadily decaying. Do you hear me as you untie my wrappings? Do you wish to pull out my stories while uncovering my parts and pieces? Do you turn the lights on and keep them shining to see all of me? Or do you take only what you need? Is this where I belong, or do I hide in the dark to seek refuge and comfort from a stranger's company? I would tell if you asked. I would say so if you only took the chance.
Thank you, Kimberly. Much appreciated. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. Beverly and Bendekgey, you are up. So make sure you unmute yourself.
Okay,
And
can you hear me?
are up. Yeah, maybe a little louder.
Can you hear me?
Perfect. There you go.
Okay. My first author love was Edgar Allan Poe. And when I was in the 9th grade, my English teacher gave us an assignment to write a 1-page description of a topic. And she gave us 4 topics to pick from. And I picked The Haunted House. And we were just supposed to do a descriptive 1-page picture of the topic. And actually I called it, so that's what I'm going to read. I called it The Haunted Heart. As I pass by the house on Haunted Hill each midnight, this isn't a poem, by the way, it's a narrative description. As I pass by the house on Haunted Hill each midnight, I not only see it, but I hear it. Yes, I hear it. Shrouded in the brooding gloom of the midnight sky, its aching bones creaking with the slightest cold breath of a breeze, I hear its murmuring moan, melancholy with its wretched fate. And when the clouds whistle through the wooden cracks in the walls and the broken windows, I hear it calling, calling to its past, to its once nobility, its notoriety. Yes, there it sits atop the hill's peak, pointed gables once reaching for the skies, the heights of social standing. Now, barely etching out images of ragged edges against a passing cloud in the dull glow of the moon's muted view. Deep in the dungeons, the vermin crawl over rotted remnants of past glories. Oh, the moans strike my very core this night. I was warned not to walk this way this evening, but I wouldn't listen. No, I couldn't listen. Possessed by a madness that makes the very breath of my life feed off my nocturnal passages by Haunted Hill. I should die if I missed one visit with the soul and spirit of this house. And on this night, my needs are not satisfied by merely a visage cut against the world, but I must go up there. I must. I know this. but nevertheless, the icy cold sweat pours down my forehead, my hands, and my whole body, gushing out my fears that I won't, no, can't admit to, as I make my way up with every crunching footstep, tripping over loose stones, my eyes glued to the house on Haunted Hill. Moon glow frames the house this night as it spreads its shadow to hide the moon, almost drinking in new life. I can feel it. My own body lifts in the spirit of hope, lightening my footsteps, pulling me closer and closer, faster and faster. I hear my breathing now, or is it the house coming alive? The glow of the moon spreads the image of the house further and further. I approach my soul, the rays of moonlight reaching out from behind as I heard my name. My name, oh God, my name, me. What does the house want of me? That's it.
I love it. I will tell you, I love horror. Thank you, Beverly. I appreciate you being here. Thank you very much. Much
Thank you.
appreciated. So Gail, unmute yourself and take it away.
Called The Christmas Village. And I am speaking as if I'm him, okay? So winter is my favorite time of year. I even moved to this state to enjoy it longer because I love to ski. I've done all the popular slopes and grew tired of the crowds and sameness of the accommodations. So sometimes I find a clear road up a high hill or mountain. I park my SUV at the bottom and hike up to a spot suitable to ski down. I know this can lead to dicey situations since there are occasional wolf or bear sightings, or the weather can turn bad at higher elevations and there's likely no cell signal. If you get yourself in trouble, you're on your own. You could die and might never be found. I call this remote skiing, but so far so good. I took a few days off before last Christmas to meet up with a buddy at a lodge some 200 miles away. I passed an interesting looking area on the way and decided to try it out before returning home. It was as perfect a day for skiing as one could ask for. The sky was bright and cloudless. The air was still. The snow was smooth. There were no signs of animal tracks. The hike up the small mountain was fairly easy. I didn't stop to catch my breath or take a sip of water until I reached the top. I looked upward and felt I could touch the sky. Then my eyes took in the landscape ahead and the valley below. And then I pulled out a small pair of binoculars and focused on the strange scene. It was a village. I had used the same route going and returning and saw no road signs or turnoffs that indicated such a place, nor gates across any road to prevent drivers from using it during dangerous conditions. Even if the main entry was somewhere on the other side of the mountain, surely there'd be a way in for people coming from this direction. I tried to check my phone, but of course there was no signal. I decided to ski down and worry about getting back to my car later. I took off downward and almost immediately became apprehensive. Why is there a village without signs pointing to it? I landed in a small park and stowed my skis behind a tall evergreen tree. Someone had built the biggest snowman I'd ever seen. A man with a little girl was aiming a telescope toward the village center. He smiled, but said nothing as I walked by. I passed a close by small skating rink, busy with kids of varying skill levels. A Christmas tree stand was next door, offering several sizes and species. I was finally at the top of what appeared to be the main street. Suddenly, something felt very wrong. I stopped walking to try to figure out what that could be. I looked back at the kids, then recalled the man and girl. Their clothes, they were old. One of the girls at the rink even wore a long skirt. I faced the main street again. It was crowded with people going in and out of shops, but there were no cars. I hesitantly started walking again. The next place was a toy shop which displayed things I'd only seen in my parents' Christmas photos. Teddy bears, balls, dolls. Customers carried out strangely wrapped packages. An old-fashioned Santa holding a bell in one hand and a teddy bear in the other was chatting with a few kids just outside the shop. One of them was a Black boy. That was nice to see. I peeked through the window of a grocery store, but saw nothing I'd find in my local supermarket. A mail carrier was pushing a cart of mail and packages away from the post office. Other buildings on the street included an inn, library, public house, whatever that was. At the end of the street, I saw that this was indeed Main Street. The people were the most interesting part of the adventure, so far at least. Their clothing was like nothing I'd ever seen, except perhaps in old photos and paintings, but I couldn't pinpoint a decade or even century. In addition, it appeared that everyone knew everybody else. There were many small clusters of folks sharing news. It seemed a very friendly village, though no one paid me any mind, including the unarmed policemen. Before turning right at the end of Main Street, I saw a part of a farm to my left, a barn, a corral with horses, a cow, and a goat. The next street was also busy. It had an antique shop, hotel, school, and another grocery. The bakery spewed out a fascinating aroma that I couldn't identify. I wanted to enter, but I realized my money would be of no use here. I could hear people singing Christmas carols in front of two churches. A policeman holding a horse was talking to a boy who just left the music store. Further up, another was listening to the chatter of a young girl. I was puzzled over a Black girl who was standing next to her mother. She was waving an American flag. Maybe all this was well in this village, but if she ever left home. Except for another church, the third street was residential, including something labeled a country house, which I guess might be a boarding house. A little girl was standing proudly next to her snowman. And then I saw it. A house so different from all the others, it seemed Santa could live here. It was green with a red door and candy stripe trim. Its Christmas tree included a giant candy cane. It suddenly occurred to me that the Santa at the toy shop was really the man himself. I stood gaping for several minutes as I resisted the urge to peer inside. I don't know if I was more afraid of being seen or what I might see. At the end of the street, and apparently the village limit, there was a mild slope with a huge tree in the center. A few pairs of children were sledding while one kid was on skis. All the sledders were looking and waving at people off to the side. My eyes widened and I opened my mouth to shout, "Look out!" But nothing came out. It would have been too late anyway. One of the sleds slammed into the tree. I stifled my laugh after seeing the kids weren't seriously hurt, probably protected by awkwardly thick layers of old clothes. I'd seen the entire quaint but mysterious village, so I headed back to the park, this time going behind the Christmas tree shop. And there was one last surprise, but it was sad. Two men wrapped in warm blankets were sitting near one another, each huddled close to his own fire, rubbing his hands to stay warm. A dog was licking what one had left on a plate for him, though surely he needed the food for himself. They all looked up as I approached. The men nodded, but their eyes revealed hopelessness. I unzipped the inner pocket where I kept my IDs and money. As my fingers touched folded bills, I once again realized my money was no good. I returned their nod, retrieved my skis, and headed up the mountain. I was exhausted from the unexpected side trip when I got back to my car. I wasn't that far from home in miles, but it could be a tense couple of hours drive if the road conditions had deteriorated. I climbed into the back seat, snuggled under a blanket, and dozed off. It was dusk when I woke and drove off, but my mind stayed on the village. Perhaps I'd been asleep all along. June the following year. I never told anybody about that village, but I thought about it for all those months. I decided to go back while the weather and roads were clear, but found no turnoffs toward that direction. I continued on to another highway, staying aware of the compass points, and still there was no way to get there. I returned to the original parking spot and gathered my hiking gear and defensive chemicals just in case. I reached the mountaintop and peered down into the valley. I was certain I was in the same place. Was I wrong? I had to affirm my sanity. I descended into the valley to look for anything to prove that there had been a village just a few months ago. The ground was bare, as if something had been there, but some gigantic being had used a broom to sweep it. Buildings, people, trees, animals, everything into a dustpan and dumped it into a trash can. But a broom leaves little things behind, and that's what I found as I carefully studied the ground. Pastry crumbs near the bakery, shards of broken ornaments, a teddy bear's button eye, strands of tinsel throughout, a strip of American flag. Proof that it was here, but how does one explain its vanishing from the face of the earth? One doesn't. Mid-December. I've never been known as a procrastinator, so I finished my Christmas shopping by a week after Thanksgiving. Now I had the time to fill, and my skis needed me. I visited my regular 3 areas before the usual boredom set in. I was itching for another remote ski when I thought of the Lost Village. I was already familiar with the area, so why not go back up the mountain just to take a peek, reaffirm. On a clear, safe day, I climbed the mountain, but before I reached the spot where I could look down, I pursed my lips and squeezed my eyes shut for a few moments to work up the nerve to accept whatever lay below. Okay, I said, I'm ready. The village was there. There was only one explanation, and it was ridiculous, unbelievable, preposterous, but the only possibility. It was where Santa and his helpers vacationed before his big day. Ta-da. That's it.
Nice. I love the memoirs, and what's even better, I didn't have to grade that one this week, so that's awesome. Thank you very much for that, Gail. I appreciate it. Thank you, Gail.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see. Robert Fleming. Robert Fleming, you are up. Take it away, Robert.
Good evening. I'm a writer from Delaware. My first piece is called Lament for Jonah. To be spit out from a whale's mouth, if only I could be whale spit, or be swallowed by a snake, would be great. Your opposition must have been great. For your whale in, your story is unstaged. No Jonah musical. Set designers are eager to put a whale on stage. Whale spit out. What spit was that? Whale spew? No word created for that. Webster's dictionary still waiting. You lived your whale launch, not even a drowning. No death, no musical. Ordinary, just Jonah. That was my first one. And my second one is a satire on the movie Aliens. It's called Phenomena Alien Lawsuit Demands. Rename movie Alien Phenomena. Xenomorphs out, phronemas in. Mobile nurseries for all phenomena. Free Babies Are Us pram pushers. Movie marquee co-star billing. Equal line count to Sigourney Weaver. James Cameron chest bursting. Turn over your best visual effects Oscar. No more underwater intellectual property theft. Return to deep peace. That's it.
Thank you, Robert. Much appreciated. All right, I'm going to move over to Sandy O'Connor. Sandy O'Connor, take it away. Unmute and take it away.
Okay, now?
Perfect.
Okay. This is a children's story I wrote based on a class that I had been teaching at a camp. It was an exercise type class for 5 to 7-year-olds. And mainly I got them to move to fun music and have a good time and not realize they were exercising. But a little boy showed up who looked like a mini Harry Potter. And when his mother brought him into the class, she explained to me that he hated exercise, that he didn't like team sports, and that he was having a hard time adjusting to any type of physical activity. And I thought, I'm not sure how this is going to work, but you're welcome to come. And in he came and began to move to, I had hula hoops always spread out. And the first thing he did was go pick up a hula hoop, which little boys don't usually do. And I began to understand what this little boy was really all about over the next 3 days as I watched him. And that brought me to this story. This is called Hootie the Hula Hoop. Hootie had been a hula hoop for as long as he could remember in hula hoop years. He lived with his family, which included his mother, father, and a sister named Hazel. They lived in the school gym where they listened to the sounds of children playing every day. They were loud and happy sounds. Every day, Hootie's family waited patiently, hoping to be selected by one of the children for playtime. This day was dark and drizzly outside, and they were waiting anxiously for the kindergartners to arrive. They got tired of just sitting and sitting. The Hoop family knew they had a good chance of being picked because the weather was so dreary, the children would have to stay inside. On this day, Hootie's mother decided to tell Hootie and his sister Hazel a very special secret. She began, "Children, you were both born with a very special power. Do not be frightened by what I am going to tell you. One day, each of you will have a chance to put your power to good use." Hootie interrupted, "Mom, will this special power let me fly? I want to fly outside and see the sky." Hazel chimed in, "Mom, I want to go outside too and feel the green grass and climb a tree. Will the special powers let me do that? Say yes, please." "No, children," Mom said sadly. "These powers can only be used to help someone. They can never be used for evil. Do both of you understand? This is very important." Hootie and Hazel were confused. Together, they timidly said, "Mom, we would never do evil. How will we ever get to help someone?" Hootie's mom lowered her voice somewhat and said, "The day will come when someone needs you so much, the powers will just take over. Now, be careful, because if you use the powers badly, they will vanish." Hootie was trying to understand his mother as she spoke. She was a bright yellow color with sparkles. Hootie couldn't imagine helping someone. He just liked to play. He decided to get ready because he could hear the noisy voices of children coming into the gym. The Hoop family waited patiently for the children to make their choices. His dad was bright blue and he gleamed under the dim lights. Hootie was a soft blue, like the sky he so wanted to see. Hazel was forest green, like the green grass she so wanted to feel, and her hoop that she also had sparkles. The children came in running to select their playtime toys. A very pleasant young boy eyed Hootie with a faint, shy smile. The boy had wheat-colored blonde hair and very large glasses. The glasses seemed to take over his face. He appeared slightly frail and a bit timid as he placed his trembling fingers around Hootie's circular shape. Hootie got so excited. Someone had chosen him for his playtime partner. Fun, here we come. It turned out that the young bespectacled boy really didn't know how to hula hoop. He tried and he tried and he tried ever so hard. His legs got wound up around Hootie and he began to look discouraged and afraid. "I can't do it," he blurted out. He kept trying though, and pretty soon a crowd of students gathered nearby. They began to laugh at Hootie's new partner. "You can't even hula hoop," Hootie heard a loud boy cry out. "I bet you don't play ball either," another voice resounded. The boy refused to give up. Hootie was beginning to worry. The boy began moving every way. He rocked his body from side to side and up and down, back and forth, and seemingly inside out. Hootie could tell the boy was feeling hopeless. His small fingers were beginning to loosen their grip. Finally, he dropped Hootie to the floor and went down and put his head between his knees, and soft sobs could be heard coming from his small frame. Hootie, now lying on the floor, watched the boy and tried to decide what to do. Then suddenly he began to feel something very strange. It felt like a great zap of energy going to every direction. He felt it again and again. It was like lightning, full of force and energy. What was it? Then he realized he was getting those special powers his mother had told him about. He was getting stronger and stronger. Amazingly, he could move all by himself. Magic, pure magic, he thought. The powers had come, and not a minute too soon. The young red-faced boy ambled over, and hesitantly, he picked Hootie up one more time. Hootie was firmly in his grasp now. Unbelievably, the boy and Hootie began to move as one. Hootie started making circles around the boy. The circles started slowly and they got faster and faster. And now the boy held on tightly and the boy shouted, "Whoa, what's happening?" Suddenly, Hootie heard the best sound of all, a giggle. The boy was actually giggling. He was laughing right out loud. He was having such a great time. The other students began to gather around. At first, they just stared in disbelief. They had never seen anything like this before. Their eyes were wide and heads were following all the movements up and down, sideways, round and round. They could barely keep up. Hootie kept moving, and it became a dance as he became the boy's steadfast partner. They couldn't seem to stop. The boy now roared with laughter. He was having, so much fun, and unknowingly was finding a place where he could really shine. The students watching began to clap. "Go, go," they shouted. The boy twisted and moved around the gym, almost to the beat of the clapping. He was like a spinning top. Around and around he went, using the entire space of the gym. "It's the magic power Mom told me about," Hootie murmured to himself. He knew why it had come. No one would ever, I'm so sorry, I cried the drop of a hat. It's a new gene I have, I think, in my body. No one would ever tease the timid boy again. Hootie had found a friend who had needed a little magic to get started. And start they had. And they did it with such abandon. Soon Hootie slowly felt the magic. Leave so slowly, ever so slowly. But now the boy who'd been so sad and unsure actually seemed bigger and stronger. He even looked at the other students eye to eye. Hootie knew the boy didn't need the magic anymore. It had done its job. It had done its job, just like Mom had said. The power inside Hootie was gone, but the power inside the boy was there forever. No one would ever tease him again.
Sandy, that was phenomenal. Okay, I wrote this in the chat. Okay, I'm like, you need. I love the title. I could see it as a children's book. You got to find yourself an illustrator and get that published. It was the story's fantastic. Kids need to hear that.
I wrote it, and when the mother showed up at the end of the week, I gave it to her. And later I said, I whispered in her ear, I said, before you read this, you need to go buy a hula hoop. Because, and I said, actually, I've already got one. And I gave her mine, but I said, you really do. Because I never the little boy looked like a little mini Harry Potter. And mostly I had, little boys that were, regular little boys and girls that could hula hoop at the drop of a hat. But that little boy needed so much, and he did it all by himself.
It was a great story. Thank you, Sandy, for sharing that. I absolutely love it. We loved it. It was wonderful. So thank you. All right, let's go to Megan McDonald and Cat Interruptus.
So the title is called Hold My Heart. In the notes of the fiddle on electric back notes slide into a dream, dance with the panda, leave the jumping stick figures on the sidelines. I need no one but me to enter my dreams. I live, love, sleep, dream alone. With each fiddle back slide note, I drift into the surreal remnant dream of you. You are Papa Smurf, a boomerang that is thrown should not be returned. Go fly away in your alien visitor conspiracies. I am reclaiming my sleep. I may not be able to lucid control, but I can wash out of my hair-drained life. I alone will hold my heart. That's the end of the first one. And I'm going to change things up a little bit since he was interruptus. 1 minute. So Kellis was originally, Lord help us, named Fellini. That didn't last a week. Letting the cat out of the bag, all bounce used to old bones, plush toy in wind-up mode, warm on toes into tack-toes game. Fellini from Confinia morphs to Kellis McAllister Grace Cat, all slink, turning to pounce purr, the shadow cat of my night, learning to sleep with new play toy, Velcro bounce checker that is here for now or not, to be continued. And I'm gonna find one more. Okay, and this one was out of Wicca Art, so it's an art piece called Real Betty. So that's where the title comes from, Real Betty. Questions provide the key to unlocking an untimely real moment is fallacy. Proper aluminum growing up the body into the neck, forming the face. No, not fear the future. We are silver oxide rust lit by imagination. Man's mind went, stretched by a desire to improve the world. You are not alive. We, the rising Betty, aluminum robot android, your accomplishment are not desires, challenges, the principle of growth and human choice. The inkling of fear to desire rejoices, fails to see our result. No passion, happiness is one, happiness is one. We are replacements. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Much appreciated. I love the shadow of my cat. I love that line. Thank you very much. All right, now we have someone new for her first time. We have Susan Martinhagen. She is here for her first time. And so let's big welcome to you from everyone. And we appreciate you being here. So Susan, go ahead, take it away.
Thank you, John. Actually, my first time at Spilt Ink was March 24th, 2017 at Girani's. And I was invited by Alice and Nancy Kime.
Love it. This is your first time Zooming with us, correct?
Correct.
All right.
But it's important as to when that date was, because it's relative to the free verse I created that I started writing that night. The people that were reading inspired me, and I sat down and wrote on a piece of napkin and then expanded to an envelope, and I kind of have been working on it for 4 years. So
All right.
The title is Size Matters. Poppy seed to chia seed to tomato seed. Minuscule to teeny to tiny. Inconsequential, perhaps. It's all relative. And a huge crescendo when x-raying kidney stones. I've got a cat on the back of my chair. I apologize. Okay. My last teeny and tiny stones were 7, literally hanging out, waiting for their stress call to action. I named them 7 dwarf stones. Everything's relative. Though not polite or Disney viewed, their power to wreak havoc. Because tonight's PG-13, these are the names. Lovoitar, Huiro, Dr. Evil, Apophis, Lilith, Adro, Lamashtu. Male and female evils. Why? Because size matters in kidney stones. Is it just that there were 7 for the analogous names? No, everything's relative. Poppy seed to chia seed to tomato seed to peach stone. Size was a kidney boulder, 3.1 centimeters to be exact. Micrometer to millimeter to centimeters. Oh, major surgery, 4 years to the day today. I wonder if its portrait is still displayed in the radiology lab of Prince William Hospital, because it indeed set a record. Size matters.
All right, John Calgill, I saved you for last because I know after this week you'd make me laugh. So take it away, John Calgill. Yeah, I'm like, I need a good one. So take it away.
All right, T. Well, I have 3 today. And the first one I'm going to share is the beauty of the waterfall. The beauty of the waterfall flows over the ridge. It glides down the cliff, through the rocks into the basin at bottom. The jagged path it takes as it goes down. Oh, how lovely the waterfall that the waterfall is not flowing. Sorry, said the maintenance man, but the waterfall is being turned off for maintenance. It'll be turned back on when we are done. So much for the beauty of the waterfall. And that is the first one. And the second one is called She Was Waiting. She was standing on the front porch with her bare feet, in her bare feet as the car pulled into the driveway. She saw her husband get out of the car, happy and joyful. He ran over to her and kissed her all over. At this point, she knew that he had gotten a big promotion. He picked her up and slowly walked her over to the car and gracefully set her down in the passenger seat. He dances around the car and gets in. He gives her another kiss. She puts her bare feet on the dashboard, and they slowly go away, leaving the house empty as they go out to celebrate. And that is number 2. And in honor of spilled ink, I've revised a little old story called The Good Spilled Ink Man. Jesus was speaking to the crowds. A man spoke out from the crowd saying, "Master, where can we go on a Friday night to have a great time?" Jesus spoke this parable. There was a certain man walking on the road to Manassas, and he fell among thieves who beat him up badly, and they took everything from him, leaving him wearing nothing but his underwear lying on the side of the road. Hours later, he saw an author come by. He cried out to him, but the author paid him no attention, and he continued on. Hours later, a poet came. The man cried out, but the poet ignored him and continued on. Then, hours later, the good spilled ink man came along. When he saw the man beaten up in his underwear, he had pity on him. "Will you help me?" the man asked. "Sure," said the good spilled ink man. This good spilled ink man took the man and he took him to the hospital to get him healed. Then he took the man to the clothing store to get him some clothes. Then he took him to Spilled Ink, where the man was able to tell his story of how he was saved by the good spilled ink man. That was a night to remember. And that is it for me tonight.
Thank you, John. I will tell you, I'm going to need that because someday when I'm standing in front of St. Peter, and he's going to be arguing with me. I'm going to say, "Have you not heard the story of the good spilled ink man? Come on, let me in." So thank you, John. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
It has been a great night. We are kicking off year 7. I appreciate you being here for the 6th year anniversary. I do have, I will close with some haikus. I was making the kids write some poetry. I did the American haiku, the 575. I did have the one highlight of my week compared to all of those memoirs I had to grade. I did get 32 of the kids published in a poetry book, so I felt good about that. So 32 of my students are getting published, so that's good. Here is some haikus that I wrote for them. This pandemic stinks. My home is safe but boring. Netflix yet again. Then I have Bowen, faithful dog, always begging for my food. But does he love me? And then I wrote this one for Alice Mergler. Need Olive Garden, fettuccine Alfredo. My stomach grumbles. And those were my haikus this week. Thank you all. I appreciate it. Once again, we are Spilled Ink. You guys are fantastic. I love you. And I can't wait till this pandemic is over and we are meeting again live. I just can't wait. That's going to be a wonderful, wonderful time. You guys stay safe, keep scribbling, and we'll see you again next time at Spilled Ink. Okay? I love you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
Good night.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.